Good morning. Welcome to another Wine Steward video. Thank you for watching once again, and thank you for participating here at downtown Pleasanton's family-owned, neighbor-staffed, maybe your neighbor, your next-door neighbor might be working here with us at the Wine Steward, and you know, we're very loyal to being downtown and keeping it in the family, and I appreciate your participation here. We need it more than ever. It's a tough time for wine shops like us. And we want you to remember that this ain't here without your playing here. So do that with us and for us, if you would. And we will reward you with delicious things you may never have heard of, including this. This is cool. I'm now going to advertise a wine of which we have one bottle. How inefficient and ridiculous is that? But let's talk about this wine that we had 3 bottles of until last evening when I was helping Las Positas College out with a part-time stint of teaching wines of the old world out there to 30 thirsty students, and they are wonderful people from all walks of life. Some of these are couples who are doing this for fun. Other students there are going for a degree of some kind. And so you've got this wonderful diversity out there, but everybody's agreeing on one thing, that the wines of the old world need to be learned about. They're taking this course in order to understand where wine started and what the premise is for so many things that we're doing here in California. So it's a cool course, and one little fun add-on to the course is when the evening is over, when at about 8:30 or so, we are through with the regular curriculum, we taste what they are calling a club wine. I don't know where the name came from, but we offer at the beginning of the class, like at 6 o'clock, I say, okay, tonight's club wine is this, and it's this particular really good example, like up a notch in quality, sometimes several notches, of what we are going to be learning about during the class. So if anybody would like to throw a few bucks at a taste of this special wine, you can stay after and enjoy the so-called club wine. Last night we were handling Portugal. We tasted 3, 4, maybe 5 very decent wines from there, and then had our club wine. Once class was done and we collected a little bit of cash just to cover the price of the bottles that we were opening. These were expensive bottles, and we had this wine. I was able to buy 3 bottles of this wine about 3 months ago, knowing that this class was coming up, and I thought, this will be a high-end Portuguese wine. Even though I hadn't even tasted it yet, I had full confidence in the importer thereof, and so I said, please get us a 3-pack. I know this is a very hard thing to sell at the store. You don't necessarily walk in the door and ask for very expensive Portuguese red wine, but you know, we gotta try, right? And so here I am trying to sell the last bottle of Quinta Nova. It's got a longer name than that, but I'm gonna keep the name short. We're gonna call it Quinta Nova, and it is made from 2 parcels in the Douro River Valley of Portugal. Now, if this was sweet wine coming from there, what would it be called? Port, or Porto, more accurately. But this is a dry wine, so we call it a Douro Red. It is grown on the really ridiculously amazing looking planted terraced riverbanks of that Douro River. And it's upstream from Porto, the town itself. And here are 2 plots identified where in one of the plots only Touriga Nacional is growing. Touriga Nacional is probably the most important red grape of the Douro. In fact, we could call it Portugal's signature red grape for its durability, for the fact that it's planted in Alentejo and Dow and here in Douro. And so it's like important that Touriga Nacional be involved in this blend. I said blend. What is the other plot? So the Touriga is all from one plot. The other plot consists of no fewer than 80 different heirloom grape varieties of Portugal. 80! So there's 81 grapes in here. Do you think you can identify them all when you taste and smell it? I will tell you that when we had this wine last night, everybody was extremely impressed with this color and the impact in the mouth. But I can tell you that because there was a little bit left in a bottle that I brought back to the store this morning, I'm having the better example of it, meaning this wine should have been decanted. We did not decant it. We were trying it with the cork just removed minutes before, and I'm just saying, this wine, having been from the bottom of the bottle, getting a lot of air, getting a car drive home, and then a car drive to the wine steward, a lot of activity, this is gorgeous wine. It is, you can smell it and talk about flowers. You can talk about really ripe, fresh crushed berries, or sweet earth, like freshly turned, moist and sweet dark earth, Or let's just take it all the way to chocolate. We could perceive chocolate in here if I put that thing in your head, but it's exotic, it's beautiful, and the impact in the mouth, seamless. And unlike many Douro Reds that I've had, it is not tannic. It's a mouthful of sweet fruit. It's not sweet wine. This is not port. This is not fortified. It is from port country, but it is the port varieties rendered dry, but with rich, beautiful fruit. I don't know if I can get any more of this, but I do hope I can sell this final bottle to somebody who gives a damn. So there it is, a commercial, a 5-minute long commercial about one bottle of wine. How ridiculous, how inefficient we are based on our wine love. Well, it's not all about wine here at the Wine Steward. It is also about fine foods, and I'd like to show you something that I love to use on a cheese platter at home. In other words, when we do what's called a cheese board, you might have things besides cheese on there. What I'd love to have, especially having been to Paris a few times and had it that way there, Cornichons, they call these things. They are little pickles and they are delicious. I am addicted to these things. And if you put out a little bowl of them on a cheese board, you will have a fully appointed cheese board, along with perhaps some charcuterie. How about some little cubes of panforte as well? That's a fun thing to have on there, and so on. Nuts, Marcona almonds, as we house roast those and sell them downstairs. Another nice addition, but just, the humble Cornichon should be represented there. How about some cheese to go along on that cheese board? Boom. This is called Flagship. Beecher's Flagship. Beecher's is the cheese producer up in Seattle, Washington, and Flagship is probably their best known product. It is a mild white cheddar, and it is so freaking good. If you've ever been to the Pikes Market up there and walked down the street just barely from that really beautiful market, you will encounter Beecher's, their downtown situation, and you will see cheese being made right through the shop window, and go right next door and you can have actually a grilled cheese sandwich made with this very cheese. If you don't have time to do that, you might catch a sandwich. Just grab one quickly at SeaTac at the Seattle Tacoma Airport, where Beecher's also has an outlet. So I've done both, and it's so Seattle, Washington to eat this cheese and to have Cornichon with it. I don't know why. Actually, why is because there's a place right down the street from Beecher's called Le Pichet, and that's a very Parisian-style bistro where they certainly have Cornichon on a cheese board for you. Okay, enough about food. We got to tell you about more things that we do at the Wine Steward. That's what I try to pack into a video every week. Let us tell you about some of the Wine Club wines, because yes, beloved Wine Club members, you have April wines ready to pick up, and we are about to put an invitation on an email to you to sign up for our next Wine Club walk-around tasting sales event party, whatever you want to call it. We will admit 120 of you to an event where otherwise the store will be closed. And on the evening, 2 Tuesdays from now, of fun, we will be having tasting stations for you upstairs and downstairs, and you'll be able to roam and taste at will and learn. The people representing the wines to you will have a good thing or two to say about it, and you're going to be edified and gratified. How about that? Let's do that for you at our Wine Club party. Well, let's tell you in the meantime about what some of you beautiful Wine Club members are getting. And I say some of you because we have 6 different wine clubs. So you're all getting different things, right, as the group membership. Well, the Curious Club, the club that gets the less expensive red wines from anywhere in the world, you are getting this beautiful Barbera. And I say beautiful because in as much as you're spending a little, you're often getting very good wines, and frankly, never great wines at that price level. This is great Barbera, and it is a well-priced wine. It's a very, very lucky find. This comes from Piemonte, Italy. Read your Wine Club notes that I haven't written yet, and you'll know more about this lovely La Luna e Fallo Barbera di Asti, I think. Yeah, Barbera di Asti. It means it's Barbera from Asti, Piemonte, Italy. How about that? Delicious. Also in your club, Monte Oton might be familiar to you longtime members because we have clubbed this before, but this is a new vintage of a Garnacha from Campo de Borja, which is in northern Spain. This is Garnacha country of Spain. Very, very old vines contribute to this wine that I think never saw a barrel, but you don't really need it for Grenache all the time. It's like what you really want to indulge in is the kirshy fruit, the peppery kirshy fruit that you get from Grenache, or Garnacha we should be calling it, as the grape almost certainly came from Spain originally. And Monteloton Garnacha, I love this wine the next day more than I do on day one. And we don't usually say that about an expensive wine. Like, yeah, you should air it out. It enriches a little bit with a little bit of oxidation. So try it that way perhaps. Going to the Red Collector Club, you get 2 higher end reds every month, always domestic, often from Napa, Sonoma, and sometimes Washington State. This wine is made mostly of Cabernet Sauvignon and Cabernet Franc, and it comes from the Columbia Valley of Washington State. The label design is, we could call it garish, but it is fun, right? Sleight of hand. What is most important to us, of course, is the contents. What's within this bottle is beautiful. When we had our Washington State event recently, and we tried 15 wines from there, and we tasted this, frankly, this was not the best seller. We gave it another go. We committed it to the wine bar menu recently and served it only by the glass. You couldn't have a taste of it, you had to buy a glass of it. That's when people understood this really lovely, mellow, deep, soulful red wine made with Cabernet Sauvignon and Cabernet Franc, very ready to drink. Some of you Red Collector Club, some of your wines that you're getting are often, it's recommended that you put them down for a while, hence collect, but this is a wine that you could have later or you could have right now. Sleight of hand is ready to go. Now let's bring up to the podium a wine that is destined for the Wine Adventurer Wine Club. You get foreign red instead of domestic red. Every month you're getting 2 bottles of foreign red, and you lucky Wine Adventurer Club members are getting, in addition to another bottle that I don't have time to describe all of these, so I'll just tell you that you're getting a wine from the Rhone, Northern Rhone master, Yves Couleron. Yves Couleron makes very expensive bottlings of Syrah. He's a Syrah guru, and he makes Côte Rôtie and Cornichons and so on. Those are higher end examples, regional examples of Syrah. And he also makes this wine from the Collines Rhodaniennes. That's kind of like saying the Côte du Rhône of the Northern Rhone. And it is entirely made entirely of Syrah, which is a beautiful wine that was born in the Northern Rhone. So this is the birthplace of the Rhone, and quite different from what you might taste from Paso Robles or Barossa, Australia. This is not that kind of Syrah or Shiraz. This is elegance. This is hardly any bigger, maybe even the same size of a rich Pinot Noir from California, and exotically scented. And you want to definitely have this glass for it. This New World Pinot Noir glass is wonderful for this elegant, I won't say less is more, it's just not trying to be more, it's just beautiful, elegant, provocative Syrah from a Syrah master, Yves Couleron. Let's take you now to a wine that's going to the World Class Club, which is a lot like the Wine Adventure Club in that you're getting 2 wines from abroad every month, but you're getting better wines. In other words, they cost more. If you're paying more, you should get better, right? So the World Class Club members, in addition to something else, I can't remember, you're getting this, Cabirot. Cabirot is the name of a domain. Domaine Cabirot is the full name, and a particular importer has purchased land in the area of Maury. We don't talk about Maury very often, but Maury is down in southwest France, nearly at the Spanish border, and you can see the Pyrenees from there. Maury, M-A-U-R-Y, is a great place for Syrah and Grenache and sometimes Carignan and so on. And this is, in fact, a Syrah dominant wine. I think it's like 60-40 in favor of Syrah, and then there's Grenache in there as well. It's beautiful. It is under oaked. It is relying on the warm location and those beautiful warm-hearted grape varieties as grown there to give you just an abundance of flavor and complexity. It is lovely wine, Cabirot. An American importer goes and buys land, very, very old vines already there, and is making this. Pretty cool. Finally, a wine that's going to the Pacific Coast Wine Club, formerly known as the California Wine Lovers Wine Club. But here we go, we're going to Washington, so why not call it Pacific Coast Wine Club? Novelty Hill Merlot. Yes, Merlot, don't run away. Merlot is perhaps Washington's very, very best grape, and it is perhaps Washington State Merlot is our best attempt in the United States of Merlot making. Novelty Hill, impact, darkness, heft, and complexity and durability. I think you could actually age this for 10 years if you wanted. So buy more bottles of this Novelty Hill. It is underpriced per the impact it provides. Really lovely wine. All right, so let's take a commercial break and tell you about a spirit that we recently brought aboard. Of course, you know we have tequila and gin and whiskey and gin and gin. I like gin, so there's a few more gins than anything else down there. Japanese whiskey, Scotch, and Australian whiskey. We talked about Starward last week, but let's tell you about this wine that is not any of those. This is a Baz Armagnac. Baz Armagnac and Armagnac are in the south of Bordeaux area of Gascony, France. And this is basically an answer to cognac. You could call it cognac's rustic cousin because it's only distilled once. Now, distilling removes character. It also polishes up a product. So if you distill more than once, you continue to remove flavor and character in favor of something that might be a little more smooth. So it's kind of a decision you have to make. The decision is made for them, for producers here, by local law that Armagnac and Baz Armagnac must be distilled only once. But it smooths out with time in a barrel anyway, and this is a lovely 1982 version. It's not inexpensive. It is, however, a commercial for the fact that pretty soon we're going to hang a list down in our collectible room, which will show you all of the different vintages of single vintage Armagnacs and Baz Armagnacs we can provide you with. And we're not going to buy like 50 years worth of these things, but we're going to make them available to those who perhaps want to order from us a beautiful Armagnac for somebody's birthday. The cool thing about spirits and the gift of a bottle on somebody's birthday to a lover of Armagnac is the fact that they can visit this incrementally. Unlike a bottle of wine, you don't have to polish it off on night 1 or night 2. It is good to visit a year later and longer. So Armagnac can handle that abuse or revisiting, and this is a really nice idea for a gift. If it's not for you, consider like, oh, whose birthday is coming up, and maybe they would like a beautiful Armagnac. We can probably find the birth year for you, okay? They're not inexpensive, just warning you, but it's a nice thing. And you know how you want to have this is in a glass at least this big with just a little at the bottom, and you smell it from as far away as you start to sense it. So you don't really like go the way we do with wine. You give it a little action and just take furtive sniffs. They call them puppy sniffs, and I certainly know what those are. Like, I hear those all night long these days. Okay, Armagnac. Let's take you to the wine bar and tell you a little bit about what is on this wine bar menu this week. We've actually already covered some of it because the red wine flight consists entirely of this month's red wines from different clubs. So we're going to put 5 different wines from the clubs onto the red wine flight. So that's an easy one. We've already covered that, right? Pretty much. Let's tell you about the sparkling wine of the week. This is a carryover from what we did at the sparkling wine event where we tried 13 sparkling wines a few days ago. Thank you so much for coming. We packed the house. You packed the house, and your interest in having a sparkling wine club one of these days is being seriously considered. So thank you for advocating that to us during this really fun event. This is a wine that everybody enjoyed, especially right after we had a very good Prosecco, not just some grocery store Prosecco. We started with that. We talked about the Charmat fermentation method, and then we went to a wine that is fermented the more difficult way in Italy, the Méthode Champenoise. Nope, can't say that, gotta say Méthode Traditionnelle, but this is made with the second fermentation occurring in bottle. So inconveniently, and so on the lees for a couple of years, it's made of 85% Chardonnay, and let me see if I can detect the 15% addition. I'll bet it's Pinot Nero. What is Pinot Nero? I'm just trying to sound important, looking stupid in the meantime. Pinot Nero is the same as Pinot Noir. It's simply Italy's name for Pinot Noir. So the classic champagne varieties happen in here in a wine made like champagne. It ain't champagne, but it's a very nice answer to champagne that costs a little bit less. Got nice ratings, but it gets great ratings from us. This is, when we went from Prosecco, that in our nose and mouth, to this, we could tell a difference. We were buying up a few dollars to have Franciacorta. This is Franciacorta by Berlucchi, the first producer thereof back in 1961. They made their first Franciacorta, hence the nickname on here. This is not from 1961 vintage, but it is the nickname for this wine by Berlucchi, who initiated the Franciacorta idea. That's a lot of mouth. That's good stuff. That is complex. Another wine on the wine bar. We're going to tell you about a couple of wines on the white flight. I have to confess that even though I'm supposed to advocate every good wine in the world, I'm not always a lover of a grape called Grillo down in Sicily has grown there. It's a white grape that for me can be a little bit too waxy, whereas I prefer refreshment from my white wines. I want a little bit of zing. Well, we finally encountered a Grillo called Aridu, which means cricket, apparently, because there's a cricket on the label. Maybe it's the local Sicilian name for it. Beyond that, the wine is very nice. It's refreshing. This is a summertime Grillo, and many of them are not. So I'm just saying that we were surprised. I continue to be surprised by things that we taste up here, even after we've been doing it for so long. And the surprise of a wine, an unexpected wine experience, is one of the best things about wine, isn't it? So nice surprise happening here in the form of Grillo. Another wine on your wine bar flight comes from a more familiar to you producer, perhaps. If you traverse the wine roads of Livermore Valley, you've certainly heard of Stephen Kent Winery. And here is a very successful white version of Cabernet Franc, one of their favorite grapes. The grape that they believe to be an important part of the Livermore Valley's future is done in white form here. And how can that be done? Well, don't you know that most red grapes contain white juice, and if you get those skins away soon enough, you will be making a white wine. If you leave the skins on for just a little while, you're making a rosé wine. And if you leave them on for a couple of weeks, you've ended up with red wine, because the skins are the coloring agent of the typical red wine. Cabernet Franc Blanc, I brought this in a month and a half ago for nurturing a relationship that we truly enjoy with Stephen and Beth. And I thought, though, I'm not sure about this one compared to last year's, based on this finish that just wasn't like my favorite thing yet. I definitely understood that this wine had just been bottled, and that a white wine just bottled sometimes needs to settle down. I had this a couple days ago and said, there it is, it's come around. This wine has found its feet. That finish that I was not grumpy about, I was just like commenting like, it's different. That's gone, and this is beautiful, mellow, white wine made of a red grape. That's pretty cool, and it's local, ladies and gentlemen. So get in on it from Stephen Kent, Cabernet Franc Blanc. What else? Let's tell you about one more wine and then leave you alone. How about that? Just didn't even know that Ridge makes a Grenache Blanc until our Ridge representative came upstairs with it about 2 weeks ago, and I said, amen, thank you for showing me one of my absolute favorite grapes. Grenache Blanc is done wonderfully by them. Now, most Grenache Blanc doesn't see a barrel. It might see time on the so-called lees, the expired yeast cells that are at the bottom of the tank in the form of this creamy layer, and just exposure to that creamy layer gives a Grenache Blanc, which is usually fairly neutral in its flavors, just a little more enrichment. You expect from Grenache Blanc no more than like white peach, white nectarine, white stone fruits perhaps, maybe a little bit of apple blossom. And yet this is enriched by a little time in wood. So it did see a barrel just for a little more body and character, and it's nice that way. That's why we put it at the very end of the white flight, because it's a little bigger than the leaner, zingier whites that come before. But this is zinged up in a certain way. This wine from Paso Robles utilizes a grape that came to Paso Robles because of Tablas Creek, I believe, quite a while ago. Tablas Creek, a French wine producer, Beaucastel, came and started up an operation, and they said, how can we make wines with balance here in this hot place? One of their solutions was the bringing over of a grape called Picpoul. So that actually occurs in this wine from Paso Robles now. So I think 15 or 17% of this Grenache Blanc is actually not Grenache Blanc, but Picpoul, just to bring the zing back, because we know that we are enriching with a barrel. Let's pay back with the zing of Picpoul. Voila. That's it. Except I do want to say, yes, we baked bread again, and it's available at the wine bar. You can order bread, house-made sourdough. It's pretty darn good, this batch, and that's available, and we're available. We're here for you. So thank you for watching the video. It went a little long this time, but there was a lot to say about spirits and food, wine club, wine bar, and of course, there's sipping to be done. And don't forget that bottle, of which we have one. Quinta Nova. Who gets it? Who's going to air it out and find out how beautiful this wine is? Thanks again, folks.